Ryan Dunn crash story. On the early morning of June 20th, 2011, the normally quiet roads of West Goshen Township, Pennsylvania, became the site of a tragic accident that would shock fans worldwide. Ryan Dunn, a 34-year-old stunt performer known for his daring work on the television show Jackass, was behind the wheel of his Porsche 911 GT3. He was accompanied by his friend, Zachary Hartwell, a 30-year-old former Navy veteran. Around 3:30 a.m., the car was seen traveling at extremely high speeds, later estimated by investigators at over 130 miles per hour. On a stretch of Route 322, Dunn suddenly lost control. The Porsche veered off the road, smashing through a guardrail before crashing head-on into a tree. The force of the collision tore the car apart, and within moments, flames engulfed the wreckage. Emergency crews arrived to find a scene of devastation. Witnesses described a fireball so intense that it was impossible to approach safely. Autopsy reports later revealed that neither Dunn nor Hartwell died immediately on impact. Both suffered severe blunt force trauma, along with thermal injuries, indicating they had survived the initial crash, but were trapped as the fire consumed the vehicle. Despite the presence of first responders, the intensity of the blaze made any rescue impossible. Both men succumbed to the combination of impact and fire, leaving the community and fans around the world in shock. The crash remains a somber reminder of the dangers of high-speed driving and the thin line between stunt work and real-life tragedy. The Jane Mansfield crash story. In the early hours of June 29, 1967, Hollywood actress Jane Mansfield was preparing for a late-night drive from Biloxi to New Orleans. The 34-year-old had just finished a nightclub performance at the Gus Stevens Supper Club. She sat in the front passenger seat of a 1966 Buick Electra 225, while 20-year-old Ronnie Harrison took the wheel. 3 children slept quietly in the back: Marissa Hargitay, age 3, and her brothers Mickey, 6, and Zultan, 8. Highway 90 stretched into the Louisiana night, but dense fog hung heavily over the coastal road. Harrison's headlights struggled to cut through the mist, while Mansfield wore a blonde wig, and the children remained unaware of the danger ahead. At around 2:25 a.m., the Buick entered a construction zone near Slidell. A truck spraying pesticide to control mosquitoes moved slowly ahead, followed by a large tank trailer. Warning signs and flares were present, but the thick fog made them almost invisible. Harrison didn't see the vehicles in time. At nearly highway speed, the Buick collided with the rear of the trailer. The car's front dove beneath the trailer, and the trailer's underside, aligned perfectly with the roof of the Buick, sheared off the passenger compartment above the dashboard. Mansfield, Harrison, and another adult in the front seat died instantly from severe head trauma. Mansfield's wig was thrown onto the road, sparking false rumors that she had been decapitated. The children in the back seat survived with injuries. The rear portion of the car had remained largely intact, protecting them from the crushing impact. Marissa received a small scar above her right eye, while her brothers had cuts and bruises but survived. Emergency responders arrived within minutes, navigating the dense fog that still threatened other motorists. Paramedics confirmed the 3 adults dead at the scene, while the children were transported to a local hospital. This tragedy later led to federal regulations requiring rear underride guards on large trucks, designed to prevent cars from sliding underneath trailers in rear-end collisions. The Paul Walker crash story. On November 30th, 2013, the world was stunned by the sudden death of Paul Walker, the 40-year-old actor famed for his role in the Fast and Furious films. That afternoon, Walker had attended a charity event in Santa Clarita, California. Later, he entered a red Porsche Carrera GT driven by his friend Roger Rouse. The Carrera GT was no ordinary car. With only about 1,200 ever built, it had a reputation for being extremely challenging to handle. At high speed, even a small mistake could have devastating consequences. Around 3:30 p.m., the car sped down a quiet street. Witnesses later reported it was traveling over 90 miles per hour. Moments later, control was lost. The car struck a curb, then collided with a tree, and finally slammed into a lamppost. The impact tore the vehicle apart and immediately ignited flames. At first, many assumed Walker had died instantly, but the coroner's report revealed a harsher truth. While the collision caused broken bones and severe trauma, it was not immediately fatal. Paul Walker remained alive in the passenger seat, conscious but trapped as fire quickly consumed the car. Smoke and heat filled the cabin, making every breath painful. The seatbelt that had kept him secure now prevented escape. Autopsy results showed burns across his body and smoke particles in his airway, confirming he had been breathing while the fire spread. Within a minute, the Porsche was engulfed in flames. First responders could not approach the car due to the intensity of the blaze. Witnesses watched helplessly as Walker was trapped. Paul Walker ultimately died from a combination of the crash injuries and the fire. News of his death spread worldwide, shocking fans who had admired his on-screen invincibility. The tragedy was a stark reminder that even those who seem untouchable can be vulnerable, and that real-life danger can be sudden, unrelenting, and impossible to escape. Diane Scheler, wrong way. On July 26, 2009, Diane Scheler, a 36-year-old mother from West Babylon, New York, began the drive home from a weekend camping trip at Hunter Lake Campground in Parksville. She had loaded her 2 young sons, Aaron, 2, and Brian, 5, along with her 3 nieces, Emma, 8, Allison, 7, and Katie, 5, into her 2003 Ford Windstar minivan. The children had spent the weekend swimming, hiking, and enjoying the outdoors. The trip started around 9:30 a.m., heading south on Route 17 through the Catskill Mountains toward Long Island. Scheler was familiar with the route, having made the drive many times before. Around 10:30 a.m., the family stopped at a McDonald's in Liberty, New York. Video footage shows Scheler moving normally, interacting with the cashier, and helping the children with breakfast. She purchased coffee and continued the journey. At approximately 11:37 a.m., she stopped again at a SoCo gas station, this time buying a bottle of vodka and orange juice. Surveillance footage captured her walking and moving normally during the transaction, while the children remained in the minivan. Around 1:02 p.m., Scheler called her brother, Warren Hance. She told him she was not feeling well and was having trouble seeing. Hance offered to come pick them up, but Scheler said she would pull over and wait. This would be their final conversation. By 1:15 p.m., Scheler had entered the Taconic State Parkway in the wrong direction at the Pleasantville Road interchange. The divided highway, with a grass median separating traffic, became the scene of impending disaster. She drove 1.7 miles south in the northbound lanes at roughly 70 miles per hour. Multiple motorists called 911, reporting a red minivan heading directly into oncoming traffic. State police units were dispatched, but Scheler continued her fatal path. At 1:35 p.m., her minivan collided head-on with a 2004 Chevrolet Trailblazer driven by 81-year-old Michael Bastardi. The SUV also carried his son, Guy, 49, and family friend Daniel Longo, 74. Both vehicles were completely destroyed. Scheler and 4 of the 5 children in her minivan were killed instantly. All 3 occupants of the SUV also died on impact. Miraculously, Scheler's youngest son, Brian, survived. He suffered broken bones and serious injuries but remained conscious, hanging upside down in his car seat as emergency responders arrived. He cried, but was alert, the sole survivor of a devastating crash. The tragedy shocked the region and left investigators piecing together a chain of decisions and misfortune that ended in one of the deadliest wrong-way accidents in New York State history. Senior crash story. On February 18, 2001, the Daytona 500 was nearing its thrilling conclusion. Fans held their breath as the cars sped toward the final lap, and the black number 3 Chevrolet of Dale Earnhardt, Sr., led the pack. Earnhardt, a legend in NASCAR known as the Intimidator for his aggressive driving, had thrilled fans for decades. Millions watching expected him to finish strong, just as he had countless times before. But as the cars approached the final turn, tragedy struck. Earnhardt's car made contact with another vehicle, lost control, and slammed violently into the concrete wall at nearly 155 miles per hour. At first glance from the stands, the crash did not appear immediately fatal. The car remained largely intact, and there was no fire. Spectators hoped he might climb out, as he had in other wrecks. Inside the cockpit, however, the situation was far more serious. The force of the collision caused a basal skull fracture, a break at the base of the skull where it joins the spine. It is one of the most severe injuries possible in racing. Medical experts explained that this type of injury is not always instantly fatal. A driver can remain briefly conscious, experiencing extreme pain, confusion, and difficulty breathing before the body succumbs. This is exactly what happened to Earnhardt. Rescuers reached his car moments after the crash, but he was unresponsive. He was rushed to Halifax Medical Center, where doctors attempted emergency interventions. At 5:16 p.m., Dale Earnhardt, Sr., was pronounced dead. The news stunned fans around the world. A driver who had seemed untouchable on the track was suddenly gone. The tragedy prompted immediate safety reforms in NASCAR. The use of the Hans device to protect drivers' heads and necks became mandatory, car structures were redesigned, and tracks introduced safer barriers to prevent similar deaths. Princess Crash Story. In the early hours of August 31, 1997, Princess Diana left the Ritz Hotel in Paris with her partner, Dodi Al-Fayed. They entered a black Mercedes-Benz S280, driven by Henry Paul, with photographers trailing closely on motorcycles and in cars. As the vehicle entered the Pont de l'Alma tunnel at high speed, it suddenly lost control and collided violently with a concrete pillar. The impact instantly killed Dodi Al-Fayed and Henry Paul. Princess Diana survived the initial crash, but she was severely injured. First responders found her conscious in the back seat, her head resting against the front, clearly in shock. Firefighter Xavier Gourmelon, one of the first at the scene, recalled her asking, "Oh my God, what has happened?" Medical assessment revealed catastrophic internal injuries. A torn pulmonary vein near her heart caused massive internal bleeding. From the outside, Diana seemed alert, but her body was rapidly failing. Rescuers worked frantically to stabilize her and placed her on a stretcher, still breathing and aware. In the ambulance, medics attempted to control the bleeding and maintain her heartbeat. For nearly an hour, she fought to survive, slipping in and out of consciousness as her body succumbed to the hidden trauma. At 4 a.m., Diana went into cardiac arrest at the Pitié-Salpêtrière Hospital. Surgeons opened her chest to repair the torn vein, but the injury was too severe. She was pronounced dead at 4:53 a.m. The news shocked the world. Millions initially refused to believe it. In the following days, tens of thousands left flowers and letters at Kensington Palace. Her funeral on September 6th was watched by an estimated 2.5 billion people worldwide. For many, Diana's death represented more than the loss of a princess. It was the loss of a global symbol of compassion and humanity.